Just wanna let everyone know that the meeting is being recorded. And it looks like we have Ed calling in from Florida. And I'll start with introductions. My name is Brian LaRochelle, I'm the chair.
Chris Perner, board member.
Rich Clapham, board member.
Tony Capola, board member.
Leanne Moses, clerk.
Thank you. Before we jump into the agenda, I first wanted to talk about our next meeting. So the first Tuesday of the month is April 1st, and I understand there will be something on the agenda. Unfortunately, I'm not able to make that, so I'm curious if you three fine folks would be able to make that and carry on the meeting without me.
Sure, why not?
Okay, to have the quorum. Okay, so we'll confirm that the next meeting is April 1st. And then, so moving right along, we have a spot here for public comments. Does anyone have anything that they'd like to bring up at this point? I'll also offer another chance for public comments towards the end.
Not at this time, thank you.
Ed, did you have anything that you wanna add at this point, or?
No, thank you for, letting me know about the meeting that will be held, the public hearing that will be held on the Comet Pond milfoil, situation. That's very important to us that we get that done at the April meeting so we can move forward at the end of May to do a pulling of milfoil on Comet Pond. Thank you.
Yep. So they're submitting a RDA, a request for determination of applicability, so that's gonna be on the April 1st, agenda.
I'm here just to get a certificate of compliance that you've already voted on, and the signatures were not, it was a copy.
Oh,
And the
okay.
registry of deeds sent me home.
They want
But they want fresh signatures, so that's gonna happen today, but.
Okay, let's do that in a couple minutes if you don't mind.
That would be great.
So let's have a minute to look at the minutes from the last meeting that Leanne put together. noticed on under number 6, part B, it was just a typo request, I'm missing a Q.
Thank you. We'll fix that.
Okay,
I'll make a motion, we accept the minutes as read with the correction.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
aye,
Just to circle back, last time there was some discussion on some old minutes. Are those still in the works?
Yeah, I haven't had time to go digging further with the move.
That's fine, understand. Okay, so, under new business, which might actually be old business, DePinto, the certificate of compliance, re-signed. So, this is just one that we already signed that we're,
re-signing.
You're re-signing.
Yeah, somehow I ended up with a copy and there's no original to be found, so.
Is that the copy?
it's a copy.
Yeah.
It's a copy with a new signature sheet.
Yeah, I'm kinda tidying up the registry of deeds information, the driveway was built in 1989, so. Try to catch up. I was going through the registry and went, oh, I never got a certificate of compliance for this. So,
I need your pen. Thank you.
Oh, you, I'm sorry.
Make your X.
Thank you.
Now you're legal.
Yay.
The copy of the signature page is in there too, so just make sure you replace it.
Okay, alright, so I'm all set.
Yep.
Do you want a copy of the
I have it.
Alright, it sounds good.
Thank
you so
you.
much.
Yeah.
Have a good
Bye,
night.
Mary.
Bye now.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda, this pertains to a letter that, we received, and a bunch of other entities have received. So, Leanne's gonna pull it up.
Hopefully.
But basically it is an anonymous letter signed by,
Ooh.
basically abutters to one or maybe 2 lots in the area of Morgan Road and Gardner Road. So we'll just kinda read through it.
Tell me when you want me to scroll.
Okay. Okay.
Is this going on now?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
can you go back down for a second?
Yeah, of course.
We'll pull this up on a map after.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have another copy too, it's my time-stamped copy.
Yeah. And could you pull it up on the map? I guess preferably the town GIS one.
Yes.
Is this a logging job that's going on?
So this
now?
property, I looked back, there was an order of conditions that was issued to build a house here in 2018, so it's before I was on the commission.
Okay.
There's a long driveway that goes in from Morgan Road, this is on the, I believe it was the north side of Morgan Road. It's like a 40-something acre plus or minus lot it looked to be. The house is set way back from the road.
Okay.
And it looks like, and she pulls it up, looks like the homeowner is clearing trees to some extent behind his house. So that's the property there.
Number 117?
Well, it's number 23, so but it's lot number 117.
Yeah.
So this aerial image is older. So you can see there's not really any clearing. But if you change,
I'm in a meeting.
but if you change to the Google base map, go to other. Yep. And then Google, yeah, one of those. Basically, there's newer aerial imagery, so you can kind of see the extent of potential clearing.
Yeah.
So I guess the other important thing that we should consider with this is the location of wetlands. So if you go over to the layers on the left, more to the left side of the screen altogether.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. There's like a little tab, kind of way more to the
Far left, yeah.
Yeah. And then wetlands map. So those are wetlands that are mapped by DEP. Now that's not necessarily definitive what's on the ground, but it's a reasonable starting place.
All the white sections of the wetlands.
Correct. So you can see, and again, this is before I was on the board, but 2017, 18, when they were in front of our commission, you can see there's some kind of wetland that they had to cross
Yep.
and build their house near, kind of to the southern part of the property.
Do we know who the engineer was on this particular site?
For the house, it was, land planning, I wanna say, I saw a copy of the NOI,
Who's cutting it?
not sure. The anonymous letter also throws in some other address, I don't know if that is the person that's
I think it's
potentially cutting.
another person that they're upset with.
So there's neighbors that are complaining, but they're not coming out to say who they are.
They've contacted DEP. I got a phone call from DEP just wondering if we've got the letter and kind of talking about the situation. And obviously their concerns as well as potentially our concern with cutting,
Can you hand me that one?
cutting near the wetlands.
Yeah.
And we checked in with the DCR, service forester, Chris,
Component?
Yep.
Yeah,
He's familiar with the site because he got the letter too. And he looked into it, and basically his response was, a cutting plan would not be valid, because they're basically clear cutting that large area. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't necessarily need a cutting plan.
well,
If you're cutting in and around wetlands, then that's one avenue that you could take.
you have to, even if you don't need a cutting plan if what you're doing falls under a change of use.
Yeah.
Okay, a forest cutting plan is if you're going to continue that property as forest. However, if you say you're going to be clearing it for, say, pasture, or, I don't know, a field or whatever, but I mean, generally, if there's wetlands involved, at that point, you have to go to the Conservation Commission, or probably the DEP, or something like that, to, you know, set your boundaries. You just can't go cutting in the wetland because
Yeah.
you decide to clear the property.
Yep.
At least not that I know of. They don't let us do that. So, I just, you know, I think what Chris Capone is saying is if they're clearing it and it falls under a change of use, then they wouldn't have filed a cutting plan in the first place.
Yeah.
However, that doesn't mean that, you know, they can't just go cutting in the wetland. But I don't know, I haven't seen it, I don't know who's doing it, and I would've thought that whoever wrote this letter would've been cognizant of, we see trucks going out, in and out, and in and out. I mean, usually there's a name on door.
Yeah.
And they say the length of time that trucks have been going in and out, I mean, how much timber is being taken out of there?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, it's just a,
Yeah.
you know, and,
So, could you go back to the
Yes.
subject property?
are these people the ones that are doing the cutting
So Leon Smith is the property owner, at least according to the assessors.
of the 40
at-
acres?
At 23 Morgan Road.
And these guys?
I'm not totally sure, that was just a small house, it's on Gardner Road.
Okay.
I don't know if that's the person doing the cutting, it's not clear from the letter.
Hmm.
Could you just zoom in closer to kind of the wetlands at the top of the site, say?
Closer?
It doesn't look like they're really in it.
No.
So, I mean, that was kind of my initial thought. Now, this image is from, you know, potentially 6 months ago. So this doesn't represent right now.
No, but I mean, if you look at that, there looks like they left a buffer around this wetland. Do you know what I mean? I mean, you can definitely see some cutting has been done there.
Yeah.
But, again, if, you know, and it depends on how much they've been cutting out of it, it's hard to tell without,
Now, if,
you know.
let's just for the sake of my own education about cutting plans and things like that, if there was no wetlands on this site, it's top of a hill, high and dry, and someone wanted to just clear,
It doesn't look like.
what would
they-
be required?
Doesn't look like they're clearing it for a field though, they left a bunch of trees in between.
Yeah, there are some scattered trees. But would you be required to get a cutting plan if you're just,
If you're gonna clear it for a change of use, the state forester doesn't really want you to file a cutting plan.
Yep.
Because it's not going to fall under their jurisdiction, because it's no longer going to be a forested piece of property. It's going to now be a hay or cornfield
or someone just wants a nice view, and they
or
want
exactly.
a large lawn?
But, I mean, if there's no wetlands involved, who's to say it's their property? Who's to say that they can't? What comes into play is if there's wetlands involved.
Yeah.
But if that's the wetlands and they've left a buffer, you know, you own the property, you pay the taxes. I'm not quite sure that anybody has any standing, you know? I all depends on whether or not they're violating any wetlands, and from the looks of that, you know, you wanna go cut your trees down, I don't see that they can't.
Now again, this is just an image from, who knows, 6
Yeah.
months ago, so who knows what they did yesterday.
But you say the DPW is involved and they're looking at this?
DEP?
DEP.
I mean DEP,
Yeah, they
sorry.
got the letter, they called me, and, I mean, they're concerned about the wetlands, they see wetlands on the map here.
Yeah,
But are they sending anybody to take a look at the site?
It doesn't sound like it. They wanted to see how we felt about it first.
has anybody I mean, this is obviously before my time.
Yeah.
Has anybody contacted the landowner
So- Yeah.
He came in to get a copy of this letter, and he was adamant that he was within all regulations and abiding by all rules and has gone through the correct channels. I did not respond, I just listened, because I didn't know, so.
That's not enough. I mean, when he says correct channels, et cetera, what exactly is that?
I don't know.
I don't know, maybe talk to God or something. I don't know, you know, I was just curious, you know, exactly who he might have talked to. He could have reached out to somebody in
Yeah.
the DCR or even the DEP, or, I mean, you don't know
Yeah.
if you don't have anybody to check with,
Yeah.
you know?
I also did call him and invite him to the meeting tonight. I left a voicemail and got no response, so.
We have his information, and
Yes.
you have his telephone number and so on and so forth. Don't you think that maybe we should try to put in a call to, well, you have, and somebody should pay him a visit, ask him if we can go on the property, pay a visit and, you know, take a look for ourselves.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna suggest. I mean, we don't have any right to go on his property, we haven't been
No.
invited.
Yeah, ask for permission to do a site walk.
We can certainly ask for permission to do a site walk. And I think it could be helpful just to send him, I know in the past, we've had like a little pamphlet thing that kinda explains Wetlands Protection Act regulations, so we can just provide that to him. I mean, we're obviously welcome to drive by the property, but it's so far from the road, I don't know if you're
I don't
gonna
think
see
you're gonna see anything.
Yeah, you're certainly not gonna see a wetland, you know, a
No.
little hollow in the back there.
You don't even see the house back there.
Yeah, probably won't, yeah.
Is that going up towards Kurt Leslie's?
It's right after the railroad tracks. There's a driveway that goes up.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
No, and we have no
And that's on
idea,
the left side or right side?
It's on the left side.
Left side.
and we have no idea who the other person even is, this
The
Todd
right
and
side
Eric
is just the
Valley.
worst
No,
property in
it's-
the world.
Looks like a single family house on, Gardner Road.
Do you want me to pull it
Yeah,
up again?
just,
But this letter is complaining about them also? Or, I mean, I'm just
Yeah,
trying to.
I mean, it says, yeah,
I'm trying to
regarding-
figure out who the players are,
it says regarding those two
you know?
landowners.
So is there any wetland, there's no wetlands on that property, right?
No, I don't
So
think
it's not
that.
even our jurisdiction then? If there's no wetlands, it's not our jurisdiction.
Right.
And it says here, according to info off the DCR site and online info as well as info provided by the Clinton DC, both jobs, so are we looking at two different jobs here?
That's,
That's my impression.
yeah, but it's hard to tell where that second job might be, cause that's such a small little lot. I mean, are they talking about someone that cut a tree and,
Yeah. Is that the house we're looking at right there, that's the little house?
that's, yes.
Yeah, that's the house there.
And I don't think the parcel behind or next to it is the same landowner.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's only 1.8 acres.
Does that show any wetlands in there?
I mean, across the street is
Yeah, but
pond,
that's
That's
really
been-
not,
Yeah.
it's probably
been
over a
pond
100
and
feet.
stuff.
yeah, that's easy, but I mean, in that little lot, there is no wetlands in there.
No, not even in the lot behind.
I don't think that.
That's not in our jurisdiction.
But the same person owns that property as owns that little white house, yes?
No, it's two different landowners
Oh,
that
it's
they're,
two different
they're
landowners, okay.
Yeah.
naming in this letter.
Alright.
The name on that is not the same as the name according to the GIS map either. According to this, it's owned by LM Fast Labor
okay.
LLC, but it may not be up to date.
I think that's the proper thing, just give them a call and see what they say.
Right.
They could tell us just a pound sand.
Is there any comments or questions or anything from the public on this?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mike Stahl, 5 Lombard Road. At the last meeting, I think it was the last meeting I attended here, Mr. Perner gave an explanation about forest cutting plans and whatnot, things that I wasn't aware of, and thank you for that. Subsequently, I've done a little bit of research, and I think it was regarding forest cutting plans, is that there's a de minimis amount. So if you're, under, let's say, 10,000 board feet of lumber, then you're excluded, and so much firewood, I don't know if it was,
25,000 board feet or 50 cords of firewood.
or 50 cord, thank you. So I learned something.
That's per year.
Yes, per year. And so my follow-up question is, if you're just felling trees, for whatever reason, a view maybe, get rid of shade, does the forest cutting plan come into play? That, and I know this isn't an official answer, but it's more good information for me.
If I may kind of speculate based on what we were saying before, it doesn't sound like it's necessarily required unless you're working in a wetland area.
Okay.
Right.
Is that your understanding?
If you're in a wetland area and you're not, and a cutting plan isn't going to be involved, I do believe you are supposed to check in with the Conservation Commission. If I go and look at a job and they want to do something and there's wetlands involved, but there's not enough said timber there, I tell them to go and see the Conservation Commission first to make sure you cross your Ts and dot your Is. That way you don't have a problem down the road, because in the end, it is the responsibility of the landowner.
Yeah.
That's the way I understand it. So, but I mean, to cut some, Mike, to answer your question, cutting some trees for shade, unless you're basically, clearing 5-acre strips so you have a view
Sure.
of Mount Wachusett, but again, you're cutting it for a view. That's a change of use. Do you know what I mean? So, it can be a little arbitrary, but again, I don't think that, unless there's wetlands involved, I don't know where we exactly would be involved in it.
So,
That's my thought.
so change of use would require a cutting plan. Is that what you're
Change of
saying?
use does not
Does
you
not,
don't
okay.
get a cutting plan.
Okay.
A cutting plan is if you're going to go in and say thin it or cut some timber out of it or whatever, and you go over the minimum,
Of 50 cord.
yes,
or
if you're gonna go
whatever.
over that, then you're gonna file a plan, do you know what I mean? It's pretty cut and dry, do you know what I mean? But the wetlands is the big thing,
Yeah.
so.
And just to follow that up, thank you for that
Yeah.
information. Once again, Mike Stahl, 5 Lombard Road. I'm just gonna take an extreme case to kind of illustrate from my understanding. So you have a wetland, you got a hazard tree, you fell one tree in the wetland, not taking it out, you're not using equipment in there, you're not logging, and you're not doing firewood, it's a hemlock, let's say, and you're just dropping it because it's a hazard tree for whatever reason. I'm just trying to use an example. In that case, would somebody have to come to the Conservation Commission? And I see Tony is saying yes.
Absolutely positively.
So.
Cause you're in the
if you-
wetlands.
Cause you're in the, cause you're in,
If you
cause
do
you're in the
anything,
wetland.
anything in a wetland,
And-
okay.
Or
and we-
within 100 feet.
And we don't want We don't want the roots to be pulled. We want the tree cut and end it right there.
Yeah, we've had people that have put in and we've gone and looked at them.
Mm-hmm.
Down on the, pond down there on Streeter Road,
Mm-hmm.
there's been a few that have come in, or sent notices and have gone out and checked them and said, yeah, take them down, but leave the stumps.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, so it sounds like we'll try to send him maybe a little pamphlet and we can request, permission to maybe do a sidewalk.
Yeah, at least talk to them on
Yeah.
the property and
Yeah.
see what we're really looking at.
Yep.
Lean, I can share, I think I have a copy of something that we've sent out before, if you'd like me to share.
Yes, please.
Okay, moving on to old business, this is for public hearing that has been continued for some time. This is notice of intent for construction of a new single-family home, two parcels on Birches Road.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we do have a little bit of an update, and if Ed is still on,
Yes.
maybe Ed would be willing. Basically, Leanne reached out to the applicant, to see if there was some kind of progress. As we talked about last time, there's sort of a 2-year expiration,
Yep.
if you will, unless, the applicant is actively working on the project. So Ed actually responded, for the applicant. And Ed, you are muted. I don't know if you're looking to speak.
It's speechless.
I think Ed is joining the nightlife and the keys.
Well, maybe, yeah,
I have his
if you have his email.
Yeah. He said, "Good morning, Leanne. I'm responding to your inquiry regarding the Birches Road project before the Conservation Commission. Currently, there are 2 NOIs that have been submitted to the DEP. One NOI relates to a 3-acre lot on Birches Road. This permission should be resolved by May 1st, 2025, and submitted to the Conservation Commission before that date. The second NOI is going to take approximately 6 months to complete and submit to Concom. Please keep both these cases open as they are being actively worked on. If a formal extension request is needed, please advise. Any questions, please contact me."
And Ed's back.
Hi Ed, do you have anything that you'd like to add? Is he driving? I think it's important, for these two, to basically start, I don't know the full process, what we need to do. But because it was open so long ago, I know you weren't on the commission then, 2 people that were on the commission no longer here, I think it'd be important to
Look at it.
do a new presentation, a new site walk, and kinda treat it like a new application, even though we're keeping it open. And kinda, I don't know, scratch anything that was said
Well,
before off
just
the record, or
Bring everybody up to speed.
up to speed,
anyways.
yeah.
Well, they said May 1st, right?
Yes.
So, I think we should just give them until then and then.
Yeah.
Do like you said.
Yeah, okay. So I guess, we should continue this.
Motion to continue.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And that's for both.
Yes.
You skipped Bonnie.
Oh, I did. So going back to new business.
Sorry.
No, that's okay, thanks for pointing that out. So, a couple months ago, there was a house for sale on Rolling Woods Road, looking to put in a new septic system. We issued, order of conditions to do that work. It's complete. We just got this in yesterday and I just did a drive-by. It's covered in snow, but I can see a new mound. You know, gotta figure the grass isn't growing on it yet. But given the site, the proximity to the woods, it's all within the lawn.
It was just a replacement, right?
It's just replacing the septic
Yep,
in an area that was already, you know, disturbed. It wasn't like it's.
right, she was going to sell that house, right, wasn't
Yep.
that
Yeah, it's
contingent on
sold,
that?
I got the new deed.
Right.
So I don't know if anyone has any concerns with that.
Well, for me,
So,
The blue paperclip is the certificate of compliance, the red is her request, and
Yep.
the signatures are on the third page.
do we need to vote on the certificate of compliance?
No,
I think we just sign it.
just sign it.
just,
As long as it has enough signatures in it. So we don't get these all confused.
Thank you.
all right, this is kind of a drooly pen.
Oh, I'm sorry. Here.
All right, I'm gonna use this one. Great, looks like I,
It's a special left-handed pen.
that's good.
The only way to read.
Left-handed pens
Right.
only.
Right,
Uh,
I have my own left-handed pen.
That's good.
While we're wrapping up those signatures, I see that Ed is back. Ed, did you?
Does this Hanover belong to them?
Ed, did you wanna
Yeah.
add anything about the Birches Road projects?
Gone. Guess not.
Oh, he lost our audio.
Doesn't say that we're muted.
No. All right, if there's anything he wants to add.
Yeah.
Do we have to sign the other one? Was there another one we had to sign, or just that?
Just that.
Okay, so we're good.
Yeah.
Well, that was good, I'm glad that worked out for that lady, you know, when it
Yeah.
came up and when she drove all the way out from Rhode Island
Thank
for
you very
about, like a
much.
3-minute thing, so I'm glad we got that done for her.
Yeah, I'm glad she didn't drive all the way up here for the same 3 minutes.
No.
Tonight. So while we're waiting for that, I guess let's move on to the floodplain bylaw discussion. So Leanne has been working on some potential revisions to the town bylaw, and this is regarding floodplain overlay district. Did everyone have a chance to read it, or?
I read it at home,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but that was just the old one, right? That wasn't,
No,
is that
I
the
had made
revised one?
edits, yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I just made the edits that the DCR rep suggested that we make to be in compliance with the new model bylaw so that we can maintain flood insurance.
So it sounds like this is really gonna be sort of the jurisdiction of the planning board.
In all likelihood, yes.
So that was one thing I just wanted to clarify. I did see something about basically if someone was to submit a plan, we would have the opportunity to review it. Which I think that makes sense, I mean, a lot of times there's overlap, if they're within the
Yeah.
floodplain, they're likely near a wetland.
Wetland, yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Good, let the planning board.
It was just recommended that I presented to you guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I did my due diligence.
I guess my first thought was, what does this look like, and how many parcels are gonna be affected by this, and how many
Not many.
people? Is it not many?
No, there's the floodplain in Hubbardston is very small. But we do have a floodplain as part of the Nashua River watershed. And so in order to maintain insurance for those individuals, we need to be up to date on the state bylaws. And so they had made a few changes, including having a floodplain administrator,
Who's?
me. Who knows everything about floodplains. I'm learning. The woman, Katie Plight, I think her name is, from DCR, is very helpful. She's gone back and forth with me several times, making edits to our original floodplain bylaws to bring them up to compliance, and she's waiting on my final draft, which I'll send her next week. And then we'll present at town meeting.
I did have a couple of very minor things.
Sure.
Read through it. Under the district delineation, so 13.2, talks about like basically how the overlay is developed, you know, how it's defined. Basically the 100-year floodplain according to the FEMA maps, but then it also says under number 3, the floodplain district also includes all land along any named or unnamed water body or water course for a horizontal distance of 50 feet from the permanent or seasonal banks thereof, except as otherwise defined on the flood insurance maps. So, it sounds like that is just 50 feet off of anything. Am I interpreting that correctly?
That's how I would also interpret it.
Yeah.
I
So
don't
not
know much
necessarily if
about
it-
floodplains,
yeah.
if I'm being quite honest. I'm learning on my feet.
Yeah.
Is that something we could ask
Mm-hmm.
her, your
Yep.
contact?
Yep.
It just seemed like that.
Broadens it quite a bit.
Exactly. You know, you have the maps that show, you know, these kind of low-lying areas along certain rivers,
Right.
but this is saying 50 feet off of every river, which generally we already have jurisdiction over as part of the Wetlands Protection Act. So like it might amount to the same thing, but I don't know, that just kind of stood out to me as
Yeah.
a little kind of broad,
Yeah.
all encompassing. And then, yeah, I just noticed under use regulations and bylaws, under number 6, it says something about agricultural facilities, but then early on it said those kind of structures are exempt, so that seemed to kind of contradict.
Okay.
So, those are just a couple things.
Okay, I'll get clarification on both of those. You said that was under number 6.
Yeah, under 13.3, number 6.
Okay.
Yeah, it says permits are required for all proposed development, and there's a whole list of things, and it says agricultural facilities. However, if you go back earlier in here, it talks about exemptions, and it sounded like that was exempt, so just.
Okay. Perfect.
Does anybody have any comments or questions or suggestions on it?
No, the only thing that comes to mind is when the chicken farm was putting in the new buildings, it had everything had been approved, and then all of a sudden, I guess because of the floodplain back there, they required another $150,000 worth of drainage back in there. So, I mean, and all there was basically is a little stream was going through there, but you were going to lose a lot of space because of the buildings,
Yeah.
and so I guess they decided that was floodplain and they had to maybe that
Sometimes they wouldn't
statement
even-
is kinda contradictory both ways.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's almost like you have to define agriculture, is it like, you know, a little shed?
Yeah, I mean,
Small
originally,
shed
I
or
think,
like a large facility,
I
maybe?
think originally all the plans were all accepted, and then all of a sudden, something came up somewhere and
Yep.
they had to do that.
I'm sure they were thrilled.
Is there any questions or comments from public?
The updates will be presented at town meeting too.
They opened the warrant last night.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
What's a board vacancy?
Vacancy.
Mike,
Yeah, and
you
that
ready
was
to
my
come
typo
on-
that I
you
noticed
ready to come on board, Mike?
I noticed
Oh, yeah,
after
Robinson.
I printed it, I was like, I'm not killing more trees.
yeah, we do still have one vacancy, so.
She needs typing class.
I type real fast. Oh gosh, you should have seen me this week.
Better than I would've done.
Yeah, so we have.
We still have one seat open, so if anybody knows anyone or.
Mike?
I'm on 2 boards already.
May as well go for the trifecta.
Well, keep us in mind.
I will.
And if you know anybody,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
okay, is there anything else? Any other comments from public, anything? Okay, I don't have anything.
Just going back to that,
Yep.
logging job. If those trucks are going in and out, it seems to me that somebody should be able to see a name, do you know what I mean? If it's a timber harvester, they're usually licensed by the state, you can certainly ask them
Yep.
what they're doing, do you know what I'm saying? If they're forthcoming, generally there's nothing to hide.
Yeah.
If they're less than forthcoming, well, then maybe you wanna look into it a little bit.
And in the time that they said that had been allowed.
That
That's a lot
seems like an
longer.
awful long time, I mean, for a 40
Yeah.
acre piece, it just, I
Is that
don't know.
a couple weeks?
Yeah, but I was gonna say, you're really in there wanting to go.
For me, that's a week.
Yeah.
I mean, we're, I can't see it, do you know what I mean? 40 acres and 18, and that's 7 years, they must be broke. Okay,
I make a motion, we adjourn.
second,
Second that.
All in favor?
Heard that.
me, aye.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.